Anyway, Chuck, thanks for coming, bro.
Thanks for having me.
I brought you here to figure this thing out, okay?
Oh yeah, you got some questions?
Since you're such a big thing in coffee, I just kind of want to get everybody's vibe on what does sustainability mean? Not even necessarily for us as an organization, but individual hot takes on what is sustainability? What do you think sustainability is? And what should people be looking at in terms of, people throw around that word a lot and nobody really knows what it means.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give like my angle on sustainability, which is more like the sustainable like livelihoods of producers we work with. I mean, there's obviously like the environmental sustainability, which is maybe a bigger question we can get into as well. But
sure.
Something I don't know, a part of it that I'm really passionate about is actually like the producer's livelihood sustainability. And then when we buy coffee, that's something that I want to be more and more intentional about as we have the time and energy and everything to continue to build on like that side of the sustainability program that we have.
So when we're talking about livelihood, what does that mean? If we're saying sustainable livelihood for coffee producers that we're buying coffee from.
Yeah, to me, it's almost like that their farm is almost a business or a livelihood in the same way that like Cat and Cloud is our business and our livelihood. And like how sustainable is that business for those producers over time?
So year after year, they're producing coffee and it's something that they're managing in a way that makes sense where they can continue almost infinite game type shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm fucked up right now. Give me an example of what wouldn't be sustainable.
Yeah. So what wouldn't be sustainable is when because for me it strikes at like the heart of like when I started in coffee and I started working in Ethiopia in 2010 with TechnoServe and the program that we were working on there. And what isn't sustainable is for smallholder producers to not know the value of their coffee, not really know their cost of production, and it's just a crop that they produce that then someone shows up at their gate, tells them what they'll pay, tells them what price they'll pay for the producer's coffee. The producer doesn't have any other options, sells their coffee for that price and receives very little relative to, say, their cost of production or anything that's going to help their family live like a better lifestyle, live a better life, educate their kids, have money for healthcare or anything like that.
So you have little knowledge of what you're actually growing and no power in the negotiation of how do I get X price for it.
Exactly.
Is that one of the things where they don't know what they have in that kind of a situation?
Well, and I wouldn't even put it all on them. It's like they're in a position where maybe they don't have a partner who's going to really be a partner with them, and they're maybe more at risk of being like taken advantage of because there's no other system to really partner with and build a sustainable future.
So you have either maybe you get relatively little money for your coffee because of the lack of a partnership or infrastructure, or maybe you have some pseudo partners where you have almost kind of fair weather friends. We're with you when it's good and then maybe not when it's not so good.
Yeah.
Because that's something that always struck me in companies marketing when they're talking about how they buy coffee. There's this coexistence of we always buy on relationships and we always buy on quality, but both of those things can't always be true all the time.
100%.
Okay. All right. Cool. And then where does the responsibility of a partner like ours? So we partner with certain people, and there's different levels, right? There's some farms and producers that we would consider partners, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's some producers and farms that we have more of a business type relationship with. Mm-hmm. We definitely buy coffees. Not all coffees that we buy are from people who we know as well as like Wilson Morales or Damien Chavez, right? Yeah. So there's different levels. Where does our responsibility begin and end as a partner or a coffee purchasing, the other end of the business transaction?
Yeah. So, I mean, where I'd like it to be is that we are buying coffee at a place that is respecting like the producer's right to like a sustainable business. And I guess there's always like two parts of it, right? It's like the producer, looking at like their farm as a business or their coffee crop as a business. It's like they have costs and inputs that they're putting in to produce a certain level of quality. So let's just throw out like a theoretical example, like say Nariño, Colombia. Say the average cost of production, for the producers in an area there is around like $1.20, $1.25, something like that. So our like from my point of view, it's like our responsibility is to pay a price in line with quality that creates like a sustainable livelihood for them. It's like sustainable for us and creates like a partnership that's like a win-win for both of us over time.
And then what do you do? And we don't have to look at this just in the confines of our company. We can talk about dream scope, like what the ideal situation might be. What do you do when you start a relationship like that? You're paying on quality, and then quality dips for a year. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think building in flexibility into your business is something that we've done in order to kind of help buffet those relationships because things aren't going to be perfect all the time. And that'll go into like a different kind of project I would want to talk about where you're essentially able to provide a marketplace for people who normally sell their coffee into the C market, but like who are producing like 84, some of that like blend range coffee 84, 85, but they don't have buyers. They're just selling it into the C market. It's like I'd love to create a way where we're paying like a good sustainable price for those coffees and moving them out of the C market and into a place where they can treat their farm as a business and create like a more sustainable situation for them. So I don't know if I tangented your question.
A mini tangent. So we'll pull it back in. So let's say we're in Nariño again. Cost of production, what you said, 120?
Yeah,
or was that C market or
130.
cost of production? I can't remember what you said.
It was cost of production.
Yeah,
okay. So let's say we enter in a relationship where we're buying based on quality. How does that? Where's the blurred line between buying it no matter what? Let's say we buy it for 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And then quality dips, and it's not even a quality that we would want to put on our menu. In your version or this version of sustainability that we're talking about, is the onus on us to keep buying the coffee, or is it on the farm to find another place to sell that coffee? Because that's kind of more of what a tradition, that's more akin to our business. If we're looking at it simply as a business tour, it's okay, we sell to different people. Maybe we sell to different wholesale providers, and then maybe one of them drops off, and it's on us to kind of get new business, on us to figure out what we can do to make that money happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like for sure, there's both sides of it too. Because on one end, it's like I'd still want to take that coffee as long as usually in like an agreement that you're going to have with someone, it still has to be perhaps coffee that, I don't know, as a small company, I think as you get bigger, you have maybe bigger latitude to bring coffee in. Maybe you could decaffeinate it, like do some other things with it. Maybe you're just agreeing to buy it and write it off as a loss, like as a bigger company. I don't think we're quite there yet, but I think, but oftentimes as well, you're working with an exporter and that partner to where maybe they're able to repurpose parts of it and pay, and still pay kind of what's a sustainable wage. It might not be as much as like we were going to pay, but they're able to kind of like, we see this with some of the people that we work with where they're able to kind of like move pieces around for us and get us what we need while still getting the producer what they need.
And then at what point does a system go from kind of buffering the cost, or like I said, a bigger company might be able to, still purchase the coffee at above what it's worth, but not as much as it was when it was really, really popping. When does that turn away from being sustainability and turn into something that's more like charity, where it's like, we're just going to buy your coffee no matter what, at more than it's worth? Where does that line get drawn? And again, I'm not saying for us, I'm just saying I'm kind of asking you a lot of hard questions right now.
No, it's good. I mean, I think it again goes back to what kind of partnership you have with the producer and what kind of situation you want to set up for them longer term, because there's also the other side of it when, say this is something where you're buying, 84, 85 coffees, and say this, and, we've seen the last couple of years, the C market, trend lower, a lot of because of what Brazil is going through and how much coffee they're producing, and that affects the whole market. But in a situation where in 2010, the C market, when I was in Ethiopia, the C market got to like 325. Like I'm sure you guys remember like that time as well. And in Ethiopia, that's a really hard situation for producers and roasters alike, because the producers don't want to necessarily honor their contracts because
they maybe wrote it like $2 or something.
Totally. So we had a lot of farmers default on the contracts to like Pete's and Starbucks were like big supporters of the program, and they were paying in like 225, 250 like long-term fixed contracts. And the C price was 325, and the producers did it. It's like no fault to them. It's like they're seeing their neighbors, just sell their coffee into the market at 325, and they have these contracts at 225, and they just didn't deliver to the co-ops. They delivered somewhere else instead and received a higher price. So, it's like you see that on one side, and then you see on the other side, where you don't, where I never think really like charity is like a great part of like a partnership agreement, but it's like, I think it all depends on like how you're going to draw it up in the beginning. And I think it's been tough because I don't think we've seen, since 2010, we haven't really seen a situation where the C market has risen that high to like, to see like a true partnership. It'd be really interesting to experience both of those situations, to experience like a really low C price and where you as the buyer are still willing to pay, $250 or whatever you're willing to pay, and then to see a $3 plus C market, and like, are people delivering, and how are you handling that situation?
So almost what you're saying, and this is maybe the wrong word, but it's both sides are suffering at some point in time, in terms of sometimes we will overpay, not us, but like roasters will overpay for lower quality in good faith, based on the partnership that's established and how it worked out. And then the other side of that is maybe sometimes the producers will get underpaid if the C market spikes. Like what's the ideal situation there? When the market spikes, if it spikes again, and we have contracts that are out for $250, and people are like, fuck you, I can get $3.25.
This is like, I'd love to take our program more in this direction. I mean, like Jared, I've had talks with this. It's like, I'd really love to work with producers and find that price that removes them from the volatility removes their family and their life from the volatility of the C market. Because that's like a really fucked up thing in this industry, is like we have a whole group of people and partners, and their whole livelihoods are dependent on this market that is incredibly volatile and goes up and down, to where they don't know what the price is that they're going to be selling their coffee for next year. Like that'd be like, for all of us that own cafes, like if we didn't know what the price of a latte was that we were going to sell a year from now, like how could we manage our business? How could we hire? How could we make any decisions? And it's like, so really where I would like to go, and I don't think a lot of businesses, particularly smaller businesses, are doing this right now, is to find a price that we feel is fair for the quality, that the producer feels is fair for the quality, and create some of those like longer term fixed price contracts, where if the producer's cost of production is $150 or something like that, and we're paying $250, it's like, if that's what a sustainable, whatever we determine like a sustainable return, like if they're making like 20% of return on their business, and that's going to help them plan for their kids' future, cover the cost of life, like if that's going to give them a stable lifestyle and remove it from like the volatility of the C market, and that's a price that works for us from a cost point of view. It's like that's where I think the magic could be, because you're removing this like source of stress and anxiety and volatility from everyone's life.
I wonder, because we were having this conversation before and we got stuck at this sticking point of, removing the volatility, but also allowing them to move up in quality and improve their position. And I wonder if you write it like a sports contract. Like,
With
okay,
incentives.
cool. We got a 4-year deal. And then at the end of this 4 years, we can renegotiate based on what you're doing. And if someone levels up, it's like, hey man, you've been paying me $250. We've done this, that. I could sell this coffee for $3.25 all day.
Yep.
Like, let's go. Let's do it again. And based on my performance, I'm actually going to ask for $3.50
Yep.
because I know I'm going to be making improvements in the next couple years. And are you willing to bet on me as a partner on the other side of the world?
Yeah, I like that analogy, right? And it's like, I like it because it gives everybody the incentives to like move in the direction that is best for them.
Right.
And, even if we were buying that coffee for like a specific product and it just wasn't feasible for us to pay up for that, it's like, because they've improved and done that, it's like someone else, just like, if it's like a professional basketball player or something like that, somebody else is going to see what they're doing, and another roaster is going to be like, cool, yeah, I totally want that for this product that I have, I can pay that, cool. And it's like,
They graduate.
they graduate. It's creating like a better marketplace for everyone.
I mean, the challenge is it's a cultural shift. So it's almost like we have to put together a presentation and start delivering it at places and have people almost vouch for us.
Yeah.
If we're not already established. So in a place like Honduras, like we could do this. We just have to write it, plan it, and make it so. But everywhere else, it's like, cool, another white farmers come or white buyers come in. Like, are they really going to honor this? Is this real, or should I say yes for now and then do whatever I want to do? And so there's going to be, I agree, we should do this. We should figure it out. But
because
that's going to be the challenge.
Because it's happened. It already, because we do it already, and it happens for like single origin coffees, right?
Yeah.
Where we're paying a price for quality with like Ben Hameen or something year in and year out.
Yep.
And if it's a little bit better, we have the flexibility in that product to like pay more. But I think really the opportunity is in like blender coffee and working with farmers. Like you said, that is the challenge, is because their whole lives they've been like conditioned to navigate their lives around the C market.
Yeah.
And the boom times are good and it feels really good, and the bust times they're like struggling to try to hustle and find
Multiple
the best
jobs.
deal they can, and that's like become the lifestyle that they've had to live because of like the market mechanism that the C market is.
And if you've never had a really deep relationship like we have with some of the higher end coffees that we buy, like you said, you're talking about blender coffees. Trust is not at a premium.
No.
Right. So,
and it never has been.
Yeah.
even if you come
historically.
in and you're saying, hey, we're going to give you this for 5 years, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
sure. Like, I don't fucking know who you are.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
who are you?
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
met you.
Yeah, and that's where trying to establish those relationships with those intermediaries like a Ben Hameen or like Azahar Coffee in Colombia that we started working with last year, that has like a similar mission. They're doing really great work. It's like that's where having that intermediary in country, I think, could go a long way. But even with that, it's still, like you said, a really hard.
Well, once you prove it, I don't think it necessarily
just
will be as
really
hard.
different.
Yeah, it's almost like you have to get that proof of concept off the ground somewhere, and then you can take that model and show, hey, this is what we've been doing over here, and we're going to do it here, and we've been doing it for this long, and it's worked, and check this. It's almost like you have to show that graph, right? It's like, okay, here's the C market. Here's you. C market's here. Yeah, it came up here, but you get a little bumpy bonus because it went up, and you'll go up a little. You might not go up all the way.
Yeah.
You'll go up a little, but here's you every other year. You could be here. We're there, dude. And then you got to get a voucher. And then we got to keep showing up, and we got to give them a graduation program of sorts, right? Like, how do you step up and out, and what does that look like? which seems the easiest to do in some place like
It does, but
Honduras.
maybe it takes more coordination among roasters, right? Among buyers, which, dude, like props to you, Jared, like you with like Wilson's Coffee, and you've almost
Oh, yeah.
created like a consortium
I did.
of people as he's outgrown us,
Right.
like realistically, like you've kind of created this like group of like-minded, values-driven companies that can buy his coffee as well.
So really what we could do theoretically is talk to those people and maybe start like a bigger thing also and be like, hey, do you want to do blender coffee from this country? Here's a program we want to start. And that actually, just off the top, is a pretty feasible way to get, you say that 4 companies in are on this, then it means more people can buy more pounds.
Yeah,
more pounds
more
out, more incentive
volume,
for more people to join.
Which again will show other people in the community that it works, because that's what you have to do is like you actually have to show. It's like show me,
right?
It's like what you're saying is all good, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
and
well, and then it also allows for Ben Hameen to keep on his mission, which he's trying to help people to see the specialty is the way, so they want to continue to up their quality and put in the money, the ones that do, and they want to graduate. This can be a stopping point on the way, and then both parties can continue to grow together.
Yeah, because again, it's like we all
deja vu.
in specialty. It's like we all love to like tout these like top 10% world coffees that taste really amazing and all this stuff, but it's like that's not 90% of coffee producers' realities, right?
No.
It's like 90% of the coffee that's produced is commercial grade, and
It's also not even the bulk of what specialty coffee companies sell.
100%.
Most people, the coffees that they highly tout, advertise, and wave in front of everybody's faces, that's not what's paying rent at the end of the day.
Nope, that's just what's showing up in competitions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what goes into your latte every day.
No.
Or your cappuccino.
Yeah. And
But
that's
it does
where-
go into some of our single origin Juan Pena. Hey, someone showed up to play.
your A game today.
So when we're talking about sustainability, we're talking about giving people the opportunity to run and build businesses of their own, do it with partners that enable them to rinse and repeat the process over time.
And I feel like as we talk about it, it's like I think that ties into environmental sustainability as well. Like if we want to talk about that as well, because I think they both work together and you can't exclusively have one without the other.
Sure.
I mean, is coffee even environmentally sustainable? Like washed coffee is kind of a shit show.
Right. I mean, but you see places that stand out like Costa Rica where
They don't even have washed coffee.
right? Yeah, where they've restricted
You
the
hear
use
that?
of water.
That's what I'm saying.
If
It's
you-
a
the
different
bag-
thing.
Yeah, if the bag says washed coffee, they're lying to you. It's white honey.
shit.
Stop telling everybody you got washed Costa Rican coffee. It's not true.
It might be close, you know what I'm saying?
It's not
really
washed. Stop selling it as washed.
light honey.
Yeah. Right, and that's kind of the direction they're going, and then you see, again in Ethiopia, the program I was working on is like they brought in these like I guess they try to bring in these like eco-friendly depulpers and washing systems where they're using 90% less water than
Is
the
that
average
Penagos?
one. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
The Penagos one's from Brazil.
I think they're
Colo.
from Colombia.
Colombia, yep. And then to also then like recycle the water, and to so I feel like there are some things around water that you can do, particularly in like more arid places, to reduce water using, recycle the water you're using, repurpose the water you're using. So yeah, I feel like on the water front, I feel like people are making strides toward creating more sustainable farms than maybe they were in the past. Be more intention around it.
Yeah. All right. This is helpful.
What do you need to know?
I don't need to know anything. I basically need to. This is kind of where I'm just trying to get a baseline. So if the eco trend is going on all over the place, right? Everyone has some sort of eco thing, whether it's packaging, fabrics, the story about where the product comes from, recycling, whatever. And I'm trying to push past what's actually eco versus what is just performative bullshit that seems like it's eco but is actually not. We had this conversation the other day about biodegradable bags. What's better, recyclable, biodegradable? It seems like biodegradable would be better,
But it's actually not.
but according to our research, it's actually worse, and it's better to go straight recyclable
If it's
for now.
fully recyclable.
I don't know if you guys
yeah.
can hear the dying moose outside, but it's a real fucking thing. I just want to be able to
to the
talk
beat.
about what our version of sustainability is and get it from all sides. Because when I look at our company and I think about sustainability, most of my work I feel is rooted here in Santa Cruz, or at least in the United States. And I think about sustainability in the same way you do, but just kind of stateside, to where I'm
Yeah.
looking at our business and not just strictly from the numbers side of things, but like from a business owner's point of view. What's going to make this sustainable outside of how much money we need to make to live here, which is, that's a known factor. You have to make X amount of money to be able to pay rent.
The answer is way more than we can.
in any given place,
In case you're wondering.
which hopefully that goes up.
Yeah.
Because
pressure us.
we're not
We
buying
got it.
houses or anything like that right now. But thinking about blurring the line, or not like taking this conversation of sustainability and having it in the context of what does it look like to do your best work every day, kind of like this mental health thing.
Yeah.
Like we had a conversation just an hour ago that puts almost all of us at any point in time on the verge of complete roasted burnout. Right. So we need to look at
That's not
sustainability,
sustainable.
not only in what are we bringing in, but how are we treating ourselves? How is work structured for the people that work here, to where you can have this coexistence of, one, there's a job to do and we need to work really fucking hard. And that's good, because every time we work really fucking hard, we get rewarded for that hard work.
Right.
Like the three of us would never be comfortable just calling it in. We like that pressure. We need a little bit of that pressure to make it work. And where does that end to where we're just like, dude, I'm fucking can't even think about anything right now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so overwhelmed that I just want to stay in bed.
Yeah.
Like every time I go to sleep, I think about 38 things that I need to fix, and I can't sleep at all. And I'm just up all night at 3 a.m. eating peanut butter.
I mean, that's what sucks about sustainability in general, is you can consistently fall down farther in this rabbit hole until you find yourself overwhelmed. And so what I've done is I just go back mentally and I make it as simple as possible with our value of like, is it just better for something because that's the thing, is you're right. Like the one thing triggers another thing, triggers another thing, triggers another thing. You're like, well, actually, no, it's not sustainable because of the jet fuel it uses to do whatever you said the other day, as like an example.
Yeah.
And it's like a true example. And it's like, fuck, every single thing you're going to find that dead end somewhere that's going to make you go, fuck, that's not as awesome as I wanted it to be. And
Right.
so while ignorance isn't bliss, is it just a little bit better for something than it was
Well,
before?
and
And that's all I'm going to be able to live with, because
and
I can't go there.
For sure, like the things we're doing all across the industry are better than they were 10, 20 years ago.
Sure.
Right? It's like all the cups are moving toward compostable. Like even the plastic cups are made out of, made to be compostable. Like
Thank God we
you
have
ever-
those straws that aren't
Paper
only
straw,
paper.
like-
Fuck paper straws.
straw, but it is, right? Like
You don't like that feeling?
straws. You don't like the
I hate
straw
it.
to disintegrate
Like literally.
in your
Well, it
mouth.
feels like you're
gives me
sucking
the-
on cardboard.
It gives me the heebs-jeebs, like for those people who have misophonia. It's like misophonia for my tongue. I gotta use anyway.
But I mean, right? But if you think about like what people were drinking out of and what
You're right.
businesses were using 10 or even 20 years ago, it's like we've made huge strides as an industry in that, and it continues to be like, how can we pursue better in little steps, little by little by little, and that adds up to big change over time.
And it'll be maybe the cool thing is that we all have a lane that we lean into that helps there. It's like you might have one that's different than mine, that's different than yours.
Right.
But the three of us focus on something that as a whole is better, and that's where the whole industry in the world should generally find their place. You don't have to jump on a trend. You can find your version of this too.
Yeah, dude, I fucking love that shit because
Right. Can't do it all.
the pressure for everybody to be everything to everybody is just way too much.
Can't do it.
This is where I stand. Is like, I care about the environment in that I want everything to continue on. But
like green.
That's not my super big passion. Like the portion of sustainability that I described prior with mental health and human beings, like starting there, that's what I'm excited about. I don't think I should feel like a piece of shit because I'm not partying with Greenpeace or whatever the fuck it is. You know what I mean?
No,
Your
right,
undies
but-
aren't falling
But
apart
like we need
right
that
now.
collective action too, because it will negatively affect your mental health and negatively affected
Absolutely.
my mental health last year. In that, if we as a society aren't doing the things to improve the climate and the situation, it's like the wildfires being here in like California, the wildflowers are
beautiful.
they're beautiful, super
fucking
bloom.
beautiful.
No, the wildfires, specifically last year that like forced me out of my, like, to evacuate my home with my family. And so many people in California, it's like that will get worse and worse, and that will have a negative effect on everyone's mental health.
Absolutely. But the other way works too. Whereas if you have a society full of people who are so burnt out, disengaged, and don't give a fuck, they're not going to be excited or even energized to be able to work on the bigger problems of the world. When they're just barely surviving, people are barely getting by, people hate their jobs, people are going to do the minimum amount of work because I can't fucking think about the environment when I can't feed my fucking family.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, dude. I'm like so stressed out. Like, how is that even possible?
But I think those are the huge strides that we're making as a society, because and you're just seeing it everywhere, where my neighbor, she just graduated from UCSC, she's going to UC Davis, and her master's and potentially her PhD is it's going to be in alternative energy systems.
Yeah.
And for sure, again, 10 or 20 years ago, those masters and those education programs didn't exist.
Sure.
So you're arming these whole armies. No, you're creating these
power armies.
Mirakuru.
You're creating these whole groups of people who are pursuing these paths to improve sustainability and to improve the world that we've never had before.
Yeah,
to where it
absolutely.
doesn't have to, where it shouldn't feel so weighty to every individual person.
I hope so. And then I'm just to tie it all off, going back into what Jared said, is if we can get in a place where we come together as a group of individuals who can attack this as a team, I don't need to feel guilty that my number one priority isn't saving the forests.
Right.
And someone else whose number one priority isn't everyone's mental health and well-being. You know what I mean? You can have a collection of people that are working on a complex problem from all sides.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Because we do have people at Cat Cloud that are passionate about the environment.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
It's all the cups and everything's are compostable. We'll get our bag in place where we have a recyclable bag program. We'll be doing, these things that we can feel good, that are good.
And that's undeniably good. And I think that's awesome. And I totally back that.
Yeah.
And
we can do one and.
Right.
Right.
Well, if someone
Box of
asked me,
one.
what are you doing? I would be on that tip. I would be like, I actually don't know. You know, if someone's handling it, it's not really my thing, even though I'm one of the owners of the business. But, you're more passionate about it than I am.
What I can tell you is that I'm putting all my food into a compost bucket and throwing it in the green bin and not putting it in the trash anymore. And that's one step that I do.
Totally.
Right.
Aside from the other stuff that I do.
Right. There's all these little steps that have been integrated into our business lives and our personal lives that are positive steps in the right direction that we didn't have.
We do compost our coffee and our chaff
Yeah,
now, which
yeah.
we used to not do. I mean,
Coffee.
back when we first started,
Yep.
we keep going there, okay?
Yeah. Just
evolution.
little steps, and it builds up over time.
We're really sustainable.
Thanks for listening, y'all. This podcast is an extension of our mission to inspire connection by creating memorable experiences. If you want to get more acquainted with what we do, you can go on over to catandcloud.com. There you'll find a little bit of everything. If you want coffee, we got coffee there. If you want to be directed to some other magic media, basically it's your hub for all things Cat and Cloud. If you want to dive in on a deeper level, we do have a Patreon. It's $5 a month, about the price of a latte each month. You get a peek behind the scenes of what we do here, unpacking some of the ideas that we talk about during this podcast, rants and raves, Q&As, Jared and I just talking shit together. Biased opinion, yes, but I think it's a lot of fun. So thanks for listening. Go out and inspire someone to do something amazing. Bye.